It's 2:17 a.m. You're staring at a number on your phone, a number that was bigger yesterday, and the day before that. You haven't slept properly in 3 weeks, not because you're working, but because you're watching, refreshing, waiting. You put in $2,000 and you need it to become $10,000 because rent is due and your options are running out. This is where almost everyone starts. Not with strategy, with desperation. Level 1, the gambler. You don't call yourself an investor, not yet. You call it a play, a move, something you heard about on Reddit or from a cousin who swears he turned $500 into $4,000 last spring. You buy things you don't understand with money you can't afford to lose. And for a while, sometimes it works. That's the dangerous part. Early wins don't teach you skill, they teach you confidence, and confidence without knowledge is just a slower way to go broke. The market doesn't care about your rent, it doesn't care about your story, and at this level, you're not investing, you're gambling with extra steps. Level 2, the student. Something changes. Maybe you lost enough. Maybe you got tired of the anxiety. You put down the phone and you pick up a book or a course, or you start paying attention differently. You open a brokerage account with $500 and you treat it like tuition because that's what it is. Every trade that goes wrong teaches you something a YouTube video couldn't. You learn about volatility, about earnings reports, about how emotion is the most expensive thing you can bring into a trade. You still make mistakes, but now you write them down. You're no longer chasing, you're studying. And there's a version of you that almost quits here because the learning curve is steep and the returns are small, and nobody around you understands why you're spending your weekends reading balance sheets. But you keep going, because somewhere in those pages, something clicked. You realized that money isn't magic, it's a language, and you're just beginning to learn how to speak it. Level 3, the competent one. 2 years in, maybe 3, you have a system now. Nothing glamorous, a watch list, a set of rules you follow, a strategy you've tested enough times to trust. Your portfolio is somewhere between $15,000 and $40,000. Small by most standards, enormous compared to where you started. You stop checking prices every hour, not because you don't care, but because you've accepted something most people never do, that short-term noise is the enemy of long-term returns. Your friends still ask you for tips, and you've learned to give fewer of them, because at this level you understand something quietly unsettling. Most people don't actually want financial advice. They want validation for a decision they've already made. You smile, you say something non-committal, and you go back to your own work. Level 4, the one with control. The shift here is not about money, it's about time. You've built enough through investing, through income, through discipline, that you have options. You don't need to take every opportunity. You can afford to be selective. Your portfolio sits somewhere above $100,000, and you understand compound interest now, not as a concept, but as a physical reality you can feel. You watch your money make money while you sleep. It's quiet. It's almost boring, and that's exactly how it should feel. At this level, you start thinking in decades instead of days. You stop asking, what should I buy, and start asking, what kind of life am I building? The decisions get slower, more deliberate. You're not reactive anymore. You're positioned. Level 5, the power player. You're in rooms now that you used to only read about. Your net worth is above $500,000, maybe approaching 7 figures. You've started allocating, a word that means more than it sounds. Some in index funds, some in private deals, some in things that don't have a ticker symbol, because the best opportunities are rarely listed on a public exchange. You've stopped talking about what you own, not out of secrecy, out of understanding. Attention at this level is a liability. People bring you deals now, and that changes something inside you, because when people want something from you, you see the world differently. You learn to read rooms, to read people. You understand that every financial transaction is also a social one. And quietly, almost without noticing, your goal is shifting. It started as survival, then it became security. Now it's something harder to name. Not just wealth, something closer to autonomy, to permanence. Level 8, the high stakes table. The numbers have changed significantly. You're operating in the millions now, and with that comes a pressure that people at lower levels romanticize but don't fully understand. The decisions you make affect other people, employees, partners, communities. You can't afford to be wrong the way you used to be. And the most unsettling thing you've discovered at this level is that the system rewards confidence, not just competence. That performance and reality are not always the same thing. That some of the most respected people in this world are wrong with extraordinary conviction. You start to see the machinery, the relationships between capital and politics, between money and media, between what's reported and what actually happened. Morality gets complicated here, not because you've done something wrong, but because you're close enough to see how rarely clean choices exist at scale. The best deal you ever made had a casualty you don't talk about. You made the right decision by every financial metric. You're still not sure you made the right decision. Level 7, the elite circle. You no longer talk about the market the way normal people do. You don't watch financial news for information. You watch it to understand what the general public believes. And that distinction between what is true and what people think is true is worth more than almost any asset class you've ever touched. At this level, you know people, not in a networking sense, in a structural sense. A phone call from you moves things. A signature from you creates things. You've realized that information is the real currency, and relationships are the real infrastructure. Your wealth isn't a number anymore, it's a network. And the strange thing about arriving here, the thing nobody tells you, is how ordinary it feels from the inside. The ultra-wealthy don't feel powerful every morning, they feel responsible. The weight of it is constant, invisible, and shared with almost no one. Level 8, the invisible hand. You're not in the news. Your name does not trend. You don't have a public profile that reflects your actual influence. And that is completely intentional. Because at this level, the goal was never fame. It was architecture. You don't make investments anymore. You shape environments in which investments happen. You sit on boards not because you need the income, but because proximity to decisions is more valuable than any dividend. A conversation you have over dinner in a private room will influence a policy decision that affects millions of people who will never know your name. That's not a boast, it's just the reality of operating at scale. The money, the billions, is almost secondary now. It's infrastructure, a foundation. The actual work is quieter. It's about legacy, about what systems you build that outlast you, about whether the machine you've created can run without you in it. You think about the person you were at 2 a.m. staring at a glowing screen, desperate, confused, running a fear. You don't feel distant from that person. You feel grateful to them.